guys, this is Wenzes. Welcome back to my channel where we talk about creating an epic life on your terms. And today we're talking about how to badass your way through life. Yes, I'm using it as a verb here because we really have to understand what it takes for us to feel completely alive. That's what this is all about, and I can tell you, I know both. I know how it feels to just cruise to life and to feel no matter what I do, I'm not gonna feel any different. So why even try? Why go for the job that pays more? I'm still gonna feel like left out. Or why should I go and have like that much more friends? I will still feel misunderstood. And that's why we keep staying stuck. We don't move forward. We don't change anything about our life, which will make us feel most alive. But here's the twist. If we understand our internal needs, if we understand our natural needs and how everything is connected within it, we can actually create a strategy that works for us specifically so we feel alive all the time. You'll have little periods here and there where things are slowing down, but you always get back on track because it feels so good. And I can tell you that I definitely feel I'm living an epic life. I can feel that I'm badassing my way through life, and you can too. And I just want to share this with you. I want you to feel like this because this is definitely worth living and fighting for. So stay tuned because we're gonna narrow it all down. Before we get started, if you want to know more about the concept of creating an epic life on your terms, then check out the free poster on the 5 pillars to an epic life. You can also watch the webinar. Both links are in the description. And if you want to work with me privately and really tackle the things that are going on in your life, definitely check out my link on one-on-one coaching. You find that below as well. The concept we're gonna use for today's topic is Maslow's Pyramid of Needs. And it is structured the following way. So the first thing we all care about is that our physiological needs are met. So we're talking about food, we're talking about water, we're talking about shelter, sleep, clothing, reproduction. So the next one, the safety needs. So personal security, employment, resources, health, and property. So are you really taken care of in a way that you're not going to be cold in the winter? Those are actually the needs that we don't need as much as the physiological needs. So first, people are always going to care about, do I have food? Do I have something to drink? Like, can I survive? And then the next step up is actually, do I feel safe? Do I have a house? Do I have a way to protect myself? You know, that's the way the pyramid is structured. I'm telling you all of this because the highest thing on this pyramid is self-actualization, and that's what we want to get to. But let's first go up the ladder. So the next one is love and belonging. So here we are part of a community. We're actually taken care of because we're not abandoned from the tribe. We really feel like we belong, we have a part in something, and that is really important to us. And those are the real things. If you're really struggling to find a place to sleep, if you really worry about, do I have enough to eat? You're not going to care about being part of a tribe. It really is in this order. We have to understand if we're not able to fulfill our needs at this level, we're never really gonna care about a level up. The next one is esteem. So this is respect, self-esteem, status, recognition, strength, and freedom. So this is something I would say most people actually go about in their 20s. I don't know how many of the concepts you've read, but nowadays most of us actually always develop until the age of 25. This is when a lot of things happen. Also, our frontal lobe isn't really developed yet completely. We all change. But so many of us, when they reach like this point of 25 or 30, they really stop growing. And you see this over and over again. You see people all excited about life, and then it kind of like goes down. People just find a way to cruise through life because they don't know what else to do. And this is when self-esteem really comes into play. This is not about, oh, okay, I've actually reached, this kind of status at work, and this gives me so much self-esteem, so now I actually want to go for the next one. Because let's say you're somebody who achieved a certain amount of esteem at school, for example. You're never like the best one, but this is how I can, have my feeling of this is who I am. Self-esteem can also be self-esteem about being unsuccessful. It's just about getting your ego needs met. So if your ego really tells yourself, oh, I'm somebody who always has bad luck, and I'm somebody who never has anything great happen to him or her, those things need to be fulfilled. Those needs need to be mirrored back to us. And most of us actually do this by the time we're 30. So you have reality mirror back to you what you believe about your ego. And this is not self-actualization, which is actually the need above that. And this is where we want to get to. So a lot of us are really in a position where we say, oh, I don't have the job that gives me security, or I don't have the family and the relationship that I want. But most of the time, those things are not happening for us because we're not aiming for the self-actualization part. Because if you live, for example, in Western culture, you're already part of a group. You feel those needs met. One of the reasons why we're not going for self-actualization is actually because we already have the need of belonging fulfilled. And it can very well be just a feeling of, oh, I'm being tolerated. That's my need and I have it fulfilled. I don't even aim for more because my mind has always been teaching me this. Most of us who are not going for self-actualization do that because we fear to lose this thing. We're afraid of not getting our needs met that are actually below this point. So, for example, me going and stepping out and being the best version I can be, and that's what self-actualization is really about, being the most you can be. That is what I call badassing your way through life, because this is what makes you feel the most alive. We as human beings always want to grow. You know, back in the day when we really were worried about surviving, we felt most alive. We didn't get into those depressive moods and felt like what for, because we always had another need we wanted to fulfill. This is what was exciting. And we can easily say, oh, it was so much easier when we didn't have all the things we have now. Now I really get sad and depressed because there's nothing to strive for. But there's always something you can strive for, and that is self-actualization. That's what we're really gonna talk about here. Because if you really set out to fulfill that goal, and most of you who are watching this can go for this, I know there's overall poverty in the world, and I know there are really big issues happening, but those are not the things I'm focusing on here. I actually want to help you to self-actualize, because the more you do that, the more you can help on all scales that you want to. Living an epic life on your terms, it's all about self-actualization. And you'll see how all the other parts play a role into that once you aim for self-actualization. Because right now, let's say all your relationships are based around the fact that they accept you the way you are. You being complacent, you cruising through life, you being just like everybody else and not rocking the boat. This is how all our relationships are built. And I'm not just saying this is you, not me. We all have that. We just have it at different levels and extents. I know very well that the reason why I'm here and I'm not that much further in my self-actualization are all those things that keep me where I'm right now. And the more I lean into it, the more I lean into self-actualization, the more I'm able to let go of the things that are just keeping me here because I'm just used to being, in this reality, having all those needs met that I already have right now. So this is something I really want you to understand, that we, all of us, are afraid of going to the next level because we're afraid we're gonna lose the need below us. We are afraid of losing the thing that is really giving us our self-esteem, so our ego being met. For example, you have been building this image of yourself that's somebody who's misunderstood. So you doing something that's gonna get people to understand you and appreciate you, you're gonna lose that self-esteem. At the same time, you can lose your way of belonging because you're gonna be different than the people around you once you step out of the matrix, once you step out of the norm. So we really have to understand that this is how our mind works. And once we understand this concept, we can use it to our advantage. This is what will make you feel most alive. Going for something that you haven't achieved yet. And in most our cases, we have already achieved everything, including self-esteem. And I'm gonna repeat this. I'm not doing this as an accident. I really want you to understand how important this point is. Self-esteem is having your environment mirror back what you believe you are. And the moment you step out of it, you're not gonna have your environment mirror back to you who you want to be. Because you step into a new version of yourself, you self-actualize more, you become more of a badass in your life, and it's gonna take a while before you create a new belonging, before you create a new esteem. You're probably gonna be able to have food and shelter met, right? Those things we just have as given. Most of us who live in a Western society have this taken care of. So we're not really there at this point. We're really somewhere above that. And there's nothing absolutely nothing that should keep you from going even higher. Because remember, the higher you are on that spectrum, the higher and more able you are to self-actualize, the more abundance you have, and with that, you can contribute not just towards yourself and your family, but creation in any capacity where you want to get involved. So it's really, really good. This is not a selfish thing. This is not about creating a lifestyle full of luxury, full of things that you don't need. This is not saying anything against that. We all need little things to make us feel good. But if you don't understand the big concept of it, that self-actualization gives you the freedom to improve society while giving to yourself first. You allow yourself to be a vessel of energy. You create a life that mirrors back to you who you want to be. That way you create more and better. But what is self-actualization really? How do you get that? Like, isn't that one of the biggest questions we all have? I don't know what I want. I just know the way I go through life that doesn't really satisfy me. My relationships are not the way I want them to be. The way I'm accepted or I go through life, I feel like I'm just being tolerated. I cannot bring my gifts out. I'm just playing this role, and I'm feeling that my deepest core, who I really am, what I have to give, stays hidden. And isn't that one of our biggest fears, that we go through life and we never get to live that out? And I'm here to tell you, we gonna make this happen. This is not something you have to worry about. You just have to be open to the process, because this is not I've done it or I haven't done it kind of thing. This is something where you lean into, and something that will never stop. Something that you can live out your entire life, grow it, and never have to worry about that you will reach an end point. See, I always used to say, why should I go for that better job? It's not gonna make me feel more me. It's still like a job where I still have to hide who I am. People are still not gonna understand me. But we are gonna make a difference here, because what I understood in the entire process is that we just need to grow a little bit. We need to push ourselves a little bit into a direction that is more in line with who we wanna be. And once we do that, we will know better. We will know what the next step is. You know how it feels like? It feels like you're going on an electric bike, or you're sitting on a roller coaster. There's this push behind you. There's this thing that's just moving you forward without you having to put any effort in it. And the more you self-actualize, the more this is happening. And the more you feel you have more than enough, like you never have to worry that you're not going to be able to take the next breath. You just know it's there. And that's how it's going to feel like once you self-actualize. But don't get me wrong, we're still going to talk about what you can do to understand how to self-actualize, how to live that out. But it's equally as important to understand what it can do for you. And it's just as important to set out a plan, a goal, a vision that includes self-actualization. Because if you only go for, oh, okay, I just want to be accepted by society by going and becoming, like, let's say, a lawyer, when I know a lot of who I am is not going to come out, you know, that's like the self-esteem thing. I'm going to have enough money. I'm going to belong because I'm going to be accepted within this group. But in the end, I know there's still something missing. You're always going to keep yourself at this level. And at this level, your relationships are not in line with your self-actualization goal. Your esteem is not in line with your self-actualization goal. Those things below that, yeah, you might be able to eat what you want and have like a shelter above your head, but it's not gonna be the same if you include self-actualization into your plan. Because once you have that plan, once you know who you want to be, you're gonna look at food differently. You're gonna look at food as something that should nourish you, because then you can self-actualize even more. You're gonna know that you don't want people to just accept you. You want to be appreciated for who you are. And the same way, if you go for self-actualization, if you include this in your vision, everything else will change. And you'll finally understand why so many of your relationships didn't work out, because you will show up differently. You will be a different person. You'll get so much of your own needs met by you being yourself, even in a vacuum. And then when the people around you come, they will only be an addition to what you already create. So let's get now to the juicy part. There are 3 steps you need to take. Those 3 steps are the ones that worked for me. Those are the ones I actually talk about in the masterclass, and I really go in depth there. So let me narrow it down for you. So the first one is, how do you want to be seen? This is is really a self-centered point, and I want you to be as selfish, as self-centered, as egoistically as you can possibly be. This is really about getting your ego needs met. So how do you want to be seen? Do you want to be seen as somebody who's strong? Do you want to be seen as somebody who's kind? Do you want to be seen as somebody who's cool? Do you want to be seen as somebody who's smart, who's intellectual? Whatever it is, I can guarantee you it's very specific to you. It has absolutely nothing to do with anybody else, and you need to know what that is. Because once you're able to pinpoint that and write it down, it does not mean that maybe in 3 years you're not going to feel anything different, but most of the time we don't even dare to say that out loud. Like, what would that be? First off, isn't that the same thing for everybody? No, it's not. I can guarantee you it's not. Even if you say, oh, I want to be as somebody who's strong, we all know there are like millions of ways to show up strong. Is it mentally strong? In what capacity? Is it more that you're really somebody who can stick to something in like a physical way? Or are you somebody who can take a lot more adversity? It does not matter. It just matters that you know it for yourself. And this is gonna narrow it down to a feeling. So the more attributes you have here, the better. The more you can create an archetype for yourself. And it's really great if you see somebody or a character that mirrors that back to you. So let's say you really like Khaleesi from Game of Thrones. This is the way you want to be. This is what you feel inside when you see her. This is what really resonates with you and makes you feel alive. You feel like, oh, if I was her, that would be amazing. I would feel so powerful, and this is how I want people to see me. There are two things to say here. Number one, trust me, the way I see Khaleesi is completely different than how you see Khaleesi. And the second one is that it's only a representation of what you already are. This is really a point a lot of people struggle to understand, but it really is something that you're already able to feel. If you were not able to feel this within yourself, you wouldn't be able to see it within another person, because everything you see through your filter. That emotion, you attach that to Khaleesi. It's part of you. So you already have that feeling. And if that is something that makes you feel alive, then really have that more in your surrounding. Watch more of the movies. If you have like songs that really make you feel that, listen to them. Because all they do is they mirror back to you a feeling you want to have about yourself. And as I said, it's good to have those attributes because they will help you to determine what kind of feeling you can attach to it. But in the end, all of this together should be how you want to show up. And the more often you surround yourself with these things, the more often you show up in the real world being that way. How would you act if you were Khaleesi? If you were in our day today, if you were living in the apartment you live right now and you were Khaleesi, how would you show up? How would you actually act? And yeah, we have maybe a different way of speaking, but you know that I'm not talking about this. I'm just saying, what's the energy behind it? How are you really gonna show up? That is one part of the equation of self-actualization. The second part is, how do you want to serve? And when I say serve, I really mean, how do you want to contribute to the world? We as self-actualized people understand that we are part of it all. We're part of creation and we contribute to making the world a better place. And we're doing that with our personal gifts. And this is really a different thing than how do we want to be seen. This is really what our thing is, what we can do best. And I'm not talking about what you can do better than John or what you can do better than Anna. I'm talking about all the attributes that you have in yourself. What of those are the things that you know best? Are you somebody who can understand people very well, or are you somebody who actually is able to sustain really physical pain in, let's say, staying awake, like let's say a doctor? That person has to be physically fit and knows that they have so much energy, they can create great things in the world because they can show up and they can use this personal gift of theirs in order to help others. There are a lot of other attributes that really play a role here, but I want to give you just some examples. Understand what is the best thing that you can do. What are you better at than the other things in your life? What do you love to do? How do you want to contribute? This is something you're good at and that you love to do. And we all have that. We all have that. There's not one person in the world who does not have that. And it doesn't have to be something like, oh, I love to be a journalist. It doesn't have to be a defined profession. It's just about what is it most. And you can narrow it down. If you don't know what it is, just lean into it. And then we get to the last point, and that is to find the overlap of how do you want to be seen and how do you want to serve. Once you find the center point of this is the person you self-actualize at. This is where you lean into and understand very well that this is not something you're going to be able to do overnight. This is not something that will happen just like that. And it's not going to be that one day you're not that person and the next day you are. But you lean into this. You create a life vision that focuses on that image. And once you do that, you automatically start creating a self-esteem and getting those needs met by being the person you want to be. You're not okay with just being accepted as somebody who's nice and kind. No, you want to have a self-esteem, an esteem need met by showing up as the person who self-actualizes, by showing up as the person who leans into this. The way you create a belonging and love is only based and only valid if it really includes the version of you which self-actualizes. And the list goes on and on. You can really badass your way through life if you go for this one aspect. Self-actualization should be the thing we aim for. And you will see how all the other needs will be met. But you gotta really set that tone there. You gotta say, this is where I wanna go. This is what I wanna be. And that way, you create something that you just crave to have more of, that really makes you feel alive. And in the beginning, it's gonna feel like you've been this big fish in a small pond, and then you're gonna be this tiny little fish in the ocean. But you know what is great about it? Once you're in that ocean, you know no matter how much you grow as this fish, you're always gonna have room to expand. And this is what makes you feel fully alive. This is what makes you feel as the badass version of yourself. You can do it, you can create that, and you can live that. Believe in yourself, set that version up for yourself. If you don't include self-actualization in your vision, you'll always feel like something is missing. You'll always feel like, what for? But once you do that, everything else falls into place. I really hope that helped you. If you want to narrow it down, watch my webinar on the epic life creation. It's for free. You can also download the posters, also for free. And if you want to work with me, you know the drill. You find all the information below. And if you want to watch something now that is in line with today's topic, then watch my video on the 5 growth mindset habits that changed my life. Like always, guys, I wish you a wonderful day, a great week, and I talk to you next time. Bye.